In this land, the tendency to put men ahead of women was especially strong. People mocked the Yi because their ancestor was a woman. They took advantage of them, and at one point it seemed the clan might fall apart. Sycophants tried to steal their name with flattery, while others sought to do so through force. So, in order that their clan might not be seized from within, they adopted a matriarchal system. They did not bring husbands into their houses. All their successors were women. Special roles emerged for men of the Yi clan. One of them was to become the wind, or again, hearers of things. They went here and there in Isei province gathering information. They did so as merchants and as nomads. Those who became nomads later came to be known as the Windreader tribe, and they could employ birds and keep the bugs at bay. Only there had been a miscalculation. The Windreader tribe had been destroyed decades ago. There had been several Windreader tribes, and one of them ceased their regular communication with the Yi. For years, then decades, then centuries, they maintained their separation from the clan. The Yi would occasionally send a boy to try to strengthen the bonds of blood, but there were no guarantees the tribe would swear allegiance to a former clan leader indefinitely. Eventually, some appeared who sought to profit by communicating with other countries. Then came the attack. The Windreader tribe, no longer communicating with the Yi, was tragically annihilated by another tribe. Some idiot had decided that the ability to control birds must be passed down by blood. He kidnapped one of their women, trying to gain the power for himself. Then, in order to have a monopoly on the power, he killed the others and sold any survivors into slavery. The Yi could not abide the Windreaders who had spurned communication with them. They broke up the remaining Windreaders as well, sending those with any useful abilities to live in town. Once in a while, Rikusen understood, they also quietly disposed of anyone who would misuse the tribe's avian practices. If the Windreader tribe had continued to exist, another choice would have been open to Rikusen. He could have wandered the plains with the others. Rikusen's mother and sister did not teach him how to handle the birds, but they taught him how to ward off the insects. They also told him about how things worked in the farming villages that continued to dot the area. If another plague broke out, the Yi men who lived around the province would be better prepared than anyone. One of the men who had left the Yi clan often visited Rikusen's house. He was a broad-shouldered, middle-aged man with a gentle smile. His name was Gyukyuan. In the western capital he was sometimes called the New Yu. He had a full, kindly face and he often gave Rikusen candy. He looks like a very intelligent boy. Might I take him as my son? He asked Rikusen's mother. Please, you're joking, she replied. People already laugh at you saying you have too many wives, you old womanizer. Ah, so long as I can keep my wives and children in style, there's no problem. Rikusen found he was surprised by this revelation. For all his modest looks, Gyukyuan loved women. Gyukyuan was an important merchant in the western capital. He had begun producing textiles and pottery to export instead of paper, and he controlled the importation of glassware. He began making grape wine in Isei province and sold it alongside the foreign kind. Some people with highly cultivated tastes preferred the imported wine, but there was also a market for the much cheaper, less acidic local variety. And there you have it. I am going to visit Sheo to do some buying in order to support my wife and children. Well. Can the household survive with its master gone for so long? My children are now mostly grown. My eldest has a wife and child of his own. Anyway, so long as my quick-witted wife is around, everything will be taken care of. I've heard about your oldest son. They say he is very capable. Ah, yes, he is an excellent worker, but I do have some misgivings about him. Like what? He is set on helping the western capital flourish, and I applaud that, but at the same time he has an exclusionary bent. He hates foreigners. Gyukyuan's normally composed face darkened. This eldest son of yours, he's Seibo's child, isn't he? Surely you don't need to worry about her boy. Seibo, only my family uses that name and only in private. How do you know it? People talk, you know. They say the new Mr. Yu has many concubines but treasures his true wife most of all. Rumor is that he disregards the western chieftain and calls his wife Seibo the western mother. Rikusen's mother grinned at Gyukyuan, who couldn't help but smile in response. It seems you've got me there, he said, but enough about my family. There's something more important afoot. Have I heard correctly that you've begun giving out the black stone? There was that phrase again, Rikusen thought. Yes, the poor harvest, you know, no other choice. I think you've got a bit of a hand in that particular trade yourself, Rikusen's mother said. His older sister listened silently. Rikusen seemed to be the only one who didn't know what they were talking about. Yes, but I'm doing it on the up and up. If you're having trouble, I should be able to give you at least some support. Rikusen's mother and sister both looked grave. It's time for you to go to sleep, his sister said, trying to shoo him out of the room. But I'm not tired, said Rikusen. It's late enough, time for bed. She chased him into the bedroom next door. Frustrated, Rikusen pretended to go to sleep, but soon he had his ear pressed to the wall, listening. And what will we have to do to earn your support? He heard his mother's voice, slightly muffled by the wall. Please, you make me sound uncharitable. You men are raised to give nothing away as merchants. And you are a new man, aren't you, Gyukyuan? Got me again. After a brief pause, he said, I want you to let me borrow the family register. The family register was a record of where the people in Ise province had come from and when they had arrived. There were those without a register, but if they wanted to do business in the western capital, they would have to make one have to prove who and what they were. Absolutely not. That is an official document. If you want to borrow it, I can only assume you want to change something. That would explain why you are talking to me and not the chieftain. You won't budge on this, Gyukyuan asked. No, anyway, the family register is already on loan to Big Lin as reference material. Oh, Gyukyuan sounded disappointed. Why would you want to change the family register anyway? It's about that eldest child of mine. Your son? Yes, Gyukuo. The register contains the honest truth about his origins. I think he hates foreigners because he realized where he comes from. Rikusen continued to eavesdrop, although he was somewhat lost by this conversation. There's no end of former windreaders who come to make demands of me on my wife's account. My business has grown considerably. Imagine what people would say if my own successor had no blood connection to me. If you believe that the Western capital needs the new Yu family, then please help me. Although he couldn't see him, Rikusen could almost picture the distress on Gyukyuan's face. Your first wife, Sabe. She came from the windreaders herself, didn't she? Rikusen's mother asked. Yes, that's right. She was from the traitor tribe of windreaders that I was supposed to join. I should have been her husband there. I should have deepened and strengthened our ties. This was the windreader tribe that had been destroyed so long ago. Yes, my wife was from the tribe that betrayed us. But it was the adults who committed that treachery. The children knew nothing of it. Whenever I saw her after that, she always looked just as she had those years ago. We did see each other a number of times, you know. Rikusen wanted to hear more, but he sensed his sister coming over to the bedroom. He quickly dived into bed. Sister, what is the black stone? He asked, trying to sound sleepy. It's not something you need to know about yet, she said, but you told me to study, that I shouldn't be ignorant. His sister paused, then said, the black stone is coal. A rock that burns. We have to dig and dig and dig in the western mountains to find it. What makes it so special? When there's a bad harvest, many families barely have enough to eat and can't buy fuel, right? We give it to those families. That didn't sound like such a bad thing. But it's hard to dig up the stone, right? Rikusen asked. Yes, very hard. We use slaves. Slaves. His sister didn't look very happy about it. We don't want to, but we do. The more they mine, the quicker they're freed. I've heard that the quickest workers get out in 5 years. What about the slowest? Decades. Some of them used to be windreaders, you know. And then you won't let them go. His sister shook her head. They betrayed us. Your late grandmother happened to find them as slaves and heard their story. They said they'd planned to take the secret of how to use the birds and go to another country with it. They said it was foolish having women rulers and making the men leave. Over such a long time as nomads, I guess they started to think that other lands were right to put men ahead of women. And that's why Grandma sent them to the mine. Yes, she thought that if they dug well she could free them. She bought several more former windreader slaves, but those people said they'd been tricked. Apparently they thought Grandmother would free them even if they sat around doing nothing. Gyukyuan is too soft on people. He frees slaves as soon as he buys them. Rikusen's sister seemed to see this as a problem. Rikusen wanted to ask more questions about Gyukyuan and his wife and his eldest son, but he refrained. It would be too obvious that he had been eavesdropping. But if the slaves work hard in the mine, eventually they can be free and leave, right? He asked. Yes, but it's dangerous work. The ones who have been there for decades, maybe that shows they aren't doing anything. Maybe they think we are the ones who are evil and wrong. They, she added, must hate us. They must hate us. At whom had his sister's words been directed? He didn't know. He did know that many people held the Yi clan in contempt. A commotion started that day, first thing in the morning. People surrounded the mansion and seemed to be voicing a complaint. Rikusen held his terrified cousins and tried to comfort them, but he didn't know what was happening any more than they did. Elder sister, what is this? What's all the noise outside? He asked. It's nothing. Everything is fine, she said, but it clearly was. Her face was bloodless and pale. Their mother came and spoke to his cousin's mother. This aunt was different from the one who led the clan. She was the youngest sister of Rikusen's mother and well separated in years. Go out the back. Take the children with you, Rikusen's mother said. The children included him. The house of Jyakuen's newest wife, the New Yu family, you know them, isn't far. I'm sure you remember her. The former dancing girl. Her children are almost the same age as yours. You're close with her, but no buts, take them and go, Rikusen's mother said, her tone commanding. She all but chased her sister out of the house and Rikusen along with her. His mother and his other aunt, the leader of the clan, went out front. They stood there talking to the mob, which looked like it was at a breaking point. Rikusen understood that they were buying time. Let's go while we have the chance. Rikusen, his aunt, and his cousins slipped out the back of the house. When they went to the house of Jyakuen's newest wife, they found a woman with red hair and green eyes. When she saw Rikusen and the others, she gestured them around to a back entrance. What in the world is going on? The cousin's mother asked. Unlike Rikusen's mother and other aunt, she was an easygoing woman and was rarely included in the household discussions on even terms with his mother and the others. She didn't fully grasp what was happening. They're saying the Yi clan has been dishonest and that it's been reported to the central government. The red-haired woman looked down as she spoke, her eyes shaded by long eyelashes. Dishonest? Rikusen's aunt asked. Yes. They say they've been lying about the amount of coal we mined. The black stone, now they have a problem, his aunt said, incensed. She sounded like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. It gets worse, the red-haired woman said. Worse. They say the clan is making claims beyond its station. They claim to have within the clan a man descended from the imperial lineage. The Yi say this makes them the rightful heirs to the throne. And so an imperial edict was issued for the destruction of the traitors who would usurp the imperial family. No, that's not possible. Rikusen's aunt and the red-haired woman glanced at him. Surely the charges are false, the woman said. Of course they are, but who is the father? The Yi clan had a custom of not being explicit about who a child's father was. This had been the way of their clan ever since a man appeared claiming to be the father of the chieftain's child in a bid to take over the clan. Even Rikusen didn't know who his father was. It's true that my sister went to the royal capital sometime before the boy was born, but the times don't match up. He cannot be an imperial child, and we certainly cannot insist that the father identify himself. His aunt was right. The Yi clan would never force a father to come forward and identify himself. Rikusen had relatives who were suspected of being the children of actors or foreign dignitaries, but no one said anything publicly. That was how the women of the Yi clan did politics. I cannot believe the central government would be foolish enough to take such a claim at face value and to threaten to destroy us over it. Who even sent them such bogus claims? I heard. The red-haired woman started and then she paused. My family's Master Jyakuen's seal was used in the letter. What? The aunt's eyes went wide. Rikusen's little cousins, distressed by their mother's outburst, began to cry. He could do nothing except try to comfort them. Are you okay? Asked a little girl coming over to them. She had red hair and green eyes herself. She began to comfort the young cousins. You dear, would you take the children inside and entertain them? Yes, mother, the red-haired girl said, taking the cousins by the hands. She tugged on Rikusen's hand as well, but he shook his head, refusing. Then you are saying Master Jyakuan did this? Rikusen's aunt demanded. No, my honored husband is on a trip to distant Sheo. I am sorry, I really do not know anything else about it, the red-haired woman said. Then come, you must change. I have a nursemaid's outfit that you can use. The way you are dressed now, everyone will know you are from the Yi clan. Rikusen's aunt crumpled. The cousins were led away to a children's room. Rikusen wondered if it was safe to trust this red-haired woman, and then he understood which one of them should absolutely not be there. No, stop, the red-haired woman said, trying to hold him back, but he brushed her hand away and returned to the mansion. To talk of the mines was to talk of the black stone. Everything his mother and the others were doing, they were doing for Ise province. But the royal capital, which judged everything purely on the basis of superficial numbers, did not understand that. The second problem, the false charges, Rikusen was key to it. If I am there, even if he went to them, there was nothing he could do, and yet he had to go. An inexplicable sense of duty compelled him. The mob was pressing in around the mansion. The people had knocked down and jumped on top of the guards, beating them with all their pent-up fury. Some onlookers hooted and shouted. Others looked pained by what was happening, but no one moved to help. You never know what people will do in extreme circumstances. That was something his mother had told him. The atmosphere was almost festive. At times people found violence pleasurable. There were those who found the Yi clan repugnant, disgusted by the women who dared to rule the western capital. Rikyusen heard a shout like rending silk. Was that? No, it wasn't his older sister, nor his mother. He recognized some of the voices, but as terrible as it seemed, Rikyusen had his priorities. Pushing past men fixated only on violence and looting, he headed for the room where his sister and mother always were. Female clan members reached out to him, but he walked past, silently repeating, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Now that these men had an excuse, they had turned into devils, given over to their hunger. Rikyusen was bathed in sweat. His clenched fists were soaked. He panted and his tongue hung out of his mouth like an actual dog. The more water his body excreted, the more parched his throat became. Each time he seemed about to cross paths with someone, he quickly hid. Despite his efforts, though, he was pinioned just outside his mother's room. Rikyusen kicked his feet, struggling. "What are you doing here?" someone whispered. It was his sister. Her face was white and she clapped a hand over Rikyusen's mouth before he could shout. She looked different somehow from usual. She had bundled up her hair and tied it with a scarf, and she was wearing men's clothing. "Older sister, where's our mother? Why are you dressed like that?" "Mother S inside." "And I'm just borrowing your coming-of-age ceremony clothes." "What?" It was the outfit they had made for Rikyusen's coming-of-age 2 years hence. Assuming he would grow, they'd made it a little large. His mother had been planning to spend a long time embroidering it. Hardly knowing what was going on, Rikyusen found himself dragged into another room. His mother held a sword and the tip was soaked in blood. Men lay dead all around her. "Mother," Rikyusen said, but before he could speak further, something was shoved into his mouth. His sister had torn up some cloth and rolled it into a gag. Rikyusen almost choked. "Shut up, be quiet," his sister commanded. "You talk too loud. You mustn't be noticed." "You absolutely must not," added his mother. She and his sister bound Rikyusen's hands and feet and stuffed him into a large chest. Then they closed the lid and placed a heavy stone weight on top. "You must protect the western lands. That's what the Yi men do. Employ any means, use any people you must." His sister smiled. He could see her teeth. "Are we safe from fire here?" "Yes, I should think so. There's not much that will burn, and I'm sure they want to use the building again anyway." Rikyusen didn't know what they were talking about. He could only stare out through the woven mesh of the chest. "This doesn't look half bad on me, does it, mother?" "No, not at all." He would look exactly like that in a few years, Rikyusen thought. "Now do not speak, I know," his sister replied. Rikyusen understood what they were going to do. He was the only male child in the Yi clan at that moment. If the mob believed the clan were imperial pretenders, they would come after him. His sister meant to serve as his body double. Rikyusen made another choked noise, but the gag kept him from crying out. His hands and feet were bound, and he could not move. He could hear the mob drawing in their bestial yells and the smell of oil and blood filling the air. His mother brandished the sword. Her swordsmanship was like a dance, the tip of the blade tracing perfect arcs through the air. But the strokes were light and ephemeral, only nicking her opponents. "Stop, you have to stop this." Rikyusen bit down on the gag. Spit spilled around the edges and the bottom of the chest grew slick with saliva and tears. He could not do anything and it agonized him. He did not want to remember what was about to happen to his sister, to his mother. But the face of the man who would commit that outrage was the one thing Rikyusen had to commit to memory. He could not blink, he knew that face. It belonged to a member of the New Yu family, a family he had seen just once during a visit to their household. It was Jayukyuan's eldest son. His front teeth glistened with saliva. He had tanned skin and bony hands. Rikyusen noted the shape of his ears and the quality of his hair. His voice carried like an actor's. Rikyusen did not just remember his face. He used all 5 senses to drink in as much information as he could, packing it into his brain. He would never forget. As this man did his violence, there was righteousness in his eyes. It was an egoistic, worthless justice, prepared to do anything, even evil if it was necessary. But it was also a justice that would do anything to protect what mattered to him. The Yi clan was about to be destroyed on a twisted pretext. Rikyusen's emotions boiled within him. He felt as if a hot stone were being pressed against him. All the water seemed to be evaporating from his body, and yet he was still so hot he felt he might begin to steam. He did this. The man grabbed Rikyusen's sister by the head, dragging her along by her hair. Rikyusen wanted to beat the man. He wanted to kill him, but he couldn't. Even if he could get out of this chest, the man would slaughter Rikyusen before he could land a blow. His sister and mother had known. That was why they had shut Rikusen in here. Why they had tied him up so he couldn't do anything. No more tears came to Rikusen's eyes. He only cursed himself for his weakness, for being small and stupid and unable to do anything. The rage and the curses were too much for Rikusen's mind, and at some point he lost consciousness. He was brought around by a sound. Were the men, the mob, still there? He couldn't bear it any longer. Whatever it took, he would kill them. Rikusen began to flail in the chest like a potato bug.